Hey everyone! Today we have another airmail presentation for you, covering the updates and changes we've been making with the project over the summer, and where the Aether project is headed next. We're happy to announce that we've been working on Aether II for the last few months, using a refreshed design plan and refined art style. We hope this project will represent a return to form for the Aether II and its future releases. Today we'll be detailing much of what we've been working on so far. One of the most important things to get right with Aether II is the world generation. The original mod's iconic islands are incredibly important to the mod's lasting appeal, and we wanted to iterate on and flesh out that generation style while still capturing the underlying feel of the original Dimensions world. One of the main ways we're expanding on the original mod's ideas is with our new biomes. Here's a little preview of some of the ones we've been working on so far. The High Fields biomes are primarily based on the original Aether's terrain. They feature open skies, lush vegetation, and the Aether's signature colour palette. Some of the most striking additions with these biomes are dense woodland areas and vast lakes, which add newfound variety to the classic Aether landscape. The Arctic biomes, by contrast, feature a colder colour palette, blankets of snow across the landscape, and prominent ice formations across the edges of islands. The frigid Sierra biome also includes mountainous islands that stretch high into the sky. The view from the tops of these mountains really shows off the massively extended world height of the new dimension. The magnetic biomes, my personal favourite biome theme, are characterised primarily by the presence of a new material, ferrocite, a highly magnetic metal that forms in large floating cliff faces, which rust away into magnetic sand. The biome will eventually include highly charged weather events, leading to bolts of electricity between ferrocite deposits. We're also working on a special set of biomes called the Irradiated theme. We're still working on features for these, but they will eventually be rare islands filled with dense jungles enchanted with enriched ambrosium. These biomes are toxic to animals, so all the mobs you'll see there will be plant-based. We're going to be packing in a lot of environmental storytelling and new mechanics into these special areas, so hopefully we can showcase them properly once they're more complete. Aether II's world also features a layer of air cloud that covers much of the dimension known as the Cloud Sea. This blanket of clouds works somewhat like a safety net for exploring the upper parts of islands, as well as allowing on-foot travel between islands when they connect together. The Cloud Sea also functions as the threshold between the more habitable upper areas of islands and the new cave systems known as the Undercloud. Here you'll find a new layer of cavernous islands filled with caves and resources. This part of the dimension is made up of a new material called undershale. These deep parts of islands are more dangerous, but also more rewarding to explore and mine in. Our plan is to have unique cave biomes in these undercloud areas, as well as unique structures, mobs, and other gameplay features that make it feel like an entirely new area of the Aether's world. We still have a lot of work to go with the undercloud area, but hopefully we'll have a more fleshed out look at it in the near future. It's important to note at this point that none of this development progress would have been possible without our community contributors, who have been instrumental to getting the project back on track so far. The world generation and entity implementations have largely been contributed by outside developers via our Github, following our design specifications and closely collaborating with our core team. This community-led approach to development has helped shape the project much more quickly and efficiently, and we hope that prominent community contributors eventually transition to full team members as they become more familiar with the project going forward. Now, before we move on to a showcase of our work on implementing and improving our mobs, we have a very exciting bit of news. For many years, you guys have repeatedly asked us to do merchandise for the mod. Specifically, we've had many requests to produce plushies of various mobs from the Aether dimension. Unfortunately, we're a very small team with limited resources and funds, so we've never really had the capacity to produce anything like that in the past. Luckily for us, a company called Makeship, who helps smaller creators produce merchandise for their fans, reached out to us earlier this year asking if we were interested in working with them for an Aether-themed plushie. After a lot of consideration, we settled on the Aerbunny as the best mob to produce a plushie for first, as it is the design we've had the most requests for over the years. Once we settled on a design, Makeship sent over a sample for us to approve, which I can reveal to you now. The campaign has already reached its funding goal thanks to an overwhelmingly positive response on our social media, so every order placed is guaranteed to be produced for the duration of the campaign. It's still a limited time item though, so you need to get your order in before the campaign ends later this month. Once it's gone, it won't be available again for the foreseeable future. We think the Aerbunny is really wonderful and hope everyone else agrees. If this plushie does well, we're very interested in doing more campaigns for other Aether mobs in the future as well. So please help support this campaign by either ordering one for yourself or sharing the campaign with your friends. Every plushie we sell directly contributes to the mod's ongoing development costs, so it's a win-win for everyone. We have a link to the Makeship campaign in the video description, so please check it out. Now let's move on to our work on the Dimensions mobs. A crucial part to the Aether's world is the unique wildlife that is adapted to the Sky Island terrain. We're still working on re-implementing and reworking all the mobs we had from previous versions, but I'd like to take some time to show off the new designs we've got implemented already. The new wild mobs return from our previous iteration of Aether II, but now with reworked visuals and behaviour. To start with, let's have a look at the Tagore. This boar-like mob has adapted to exploring the ground of the Aether's islands. Because of this, it has no ability to glide or fly, but instead is incredibly fast on the ground. These mobs are an early source of meat and hide items, which can be used to craft early game armour, but hunting the Tagore requires a careful approach. Moving too quickly nearby will spook them into sprinting away. Tagore will eventually search for truffle items near the base of trees, so keeping some Tagore in an enclosure may be a good way of gaining additional resources and crafting opportunities. The Burukai also returns in this version. These sturdy creatures are slightly more defensive than the Tagore. If you attack a Burukai, they will become hostile and use their powerful charge and sharp horns to drive you away. Burukai deal a stun build-up effect with their attacks, which if triggered will severely limit your movement and stop you from blocking and using items for the duration of the effect. So avoiding getting hit by the Burukai too many times or bringing curative items will be crucial to hunting this mob. In return though, you'll obtain higher quality meat and more durable hide items, which can be used for better armour. The last of these wild mobs is the Kirid. These woolly creatures use their springy legs and cloud wool coats to hop and float around the Aether's islands. Their cloud wool can be harvested using shears to craft beds and break down into cloud twine for crafting. Skipping a few Kirid around is good for having a steady flow of crafting resources. Kirid are also known to exhibit friendly competition between themselves, smacking their head plates together until one of them breaks. These plates will eventually drop fragments, which you'll be able to process into potent farming resources. These wild mobs all come with biome variations based on the main 3 biome themes, adding visual variety to the fauna of these landscapes. You can also find Aerbunnies hopping around the Aether dimension. These little creatures are incredibly friendly and love helping players travel around the skies using their balloon-like fur coat to slow your descent. Aerbunnies can be tamed by feeding them oranges, allowing you to command them to sit in place. We will eventually be introducing companion summoning items, which will add the ability to save mobs like Aerbunnies to an item. Using these items will let you summon your companion or revive it if they run out of health after a set cooldown. We're excited to work on more companion mobs in the future and introduce unique dungeon loot companion items. Alongside these creatures, you'll also rarely find packs of classic Aether mobs. The Sheephuff, Fig and Flying Cow return in Aether II with updated visual designs. These rare, docile creatures are perfect for farming, dropping fewer resources than their wild counterparts, but being far easier to farm. You may need a roof for your Sheephuff pen though. Now, it wouldn't really be the Aether without this next creature, mowers. These graceful birds build large nests around the Aether's islands, which they fiercely protect from intruders. Currently, mower taming isn't fully implemented, but will likely detail their new functionality in depth in the future, so stay tuned for more details there. Unlike the original Aether mod, Aether II features a day-night cycle from the start. This means we can design the mod around the regular cycle of peaceful and hostile periods during survival gameplay. As such, there's much more of a focus put on interesting hostile mobs in Aether II, so here's a brief look at some of the mobs we've implemented so far. The cockatrice returns from the original mod, with a brand new visual design. Cockatrices lurk in dark areas like the Undercloud, but come out to the surface at night to scavenge and hunt. Cockatrices use venomous darts to weaken their prey, then switch to fierce melee attacks once they're up close. The Shrouded Forest biome has become home to an increased cockatrice population due to its dark and dense canopy, so watch out between the trees for their distinctive glowing feathers and darts. The Zephyr also returns. These bothersome creatures primarily patrol the skies during the day, looking for berries to eat and players to annoy. Their cloud web attack can bind the player up in sticky webs, restricting your ability to jump and reducing movement speed. Zephyrs also sometimes approach players they feel threatened by and use a wind attack to push them around and into the air. Zephyrs can be quite a frustrating presence, so it's always a good idea to keep a ranged weapon handy in case one decides to bother you. The Tempest, a hostile mutated cousin of the Zephyr, comes out of hiding at night to terrorize unsuspecting prey. This ghoulish creature floats around looking for victims to hunt, charging up electric projectiles that explode on impact into a cloud of statically charged particles. Travelling at night requires extra vigilance because of these monsters, and perhaps a powerful crossbow to deal with any that corner you. We have many more mobs planned and already in development, but this is where we'll wrap up this first showcase for mob content. Next we'll detail some of the new and returning Sandbox mechanics and content we've been working on. With this new iteration of the project, we've put a lot of focus on expanding the Sandbox content of the dimension, modelling a lot of improvements off recent updates to the vanilla Sandbox and modernizations in the modding community. Today we'll briefly go over a few mechanics we've already implemented. First of all, let's talk about one of our new resources called Glint. This is a new ore found in the Aether's caves. It's used primarily in trading amongst the mod's townsfolk for goods and services. Glint has its own dedicated equipment slot that represents the player's coin pouch. This slot has an infinite stack size, so you don't need to worry about inventory management for money. Any Glint item that has a coin value can be used or placed directly into the pouch slot to add it to your inventory, and Glint coins can be taken out of the pouch easily for trading or storage. Any coins stored in your pouch will be lost upon death, so it is likely a good idea to store any money you're not planning on spending so you don't lose it. Now you may have noticed the custom inventory screen containing the Glint pouch slot. This is part of a feature called the Traveller's Guidebook, a set of new inventory screens unique to Aether II's content focused on expanding functionality and information available to the player. The set of GUIs in your inventory replaces the Book of Lore feature from the original mod, giving the player useful information that will help newer players get to grips with how content works in the mod. We've also included the Artisan's Bench, a utility block similar to the vanilla Stonecutter block, which lets you convert blocks into a selection of visual variants. Unlike the Stonecutter though, the Artisan's Bench works with all kinds of materials, including all three of the mod's wood types, meaning you can customize your builds extensively with way more options than before. Another mechanic we've been working on is the Arcanium Forge, a new utility block used for upgrading and renaming your equipment. You can use Arcanium and a new resource, Corobonite, to enhance the durability and functionality of your crafted equipment. Upgraded items also gain charm slots, which are unique equipment slots on the items themselves that you can socket loot items called charms into. These charms will offer improved stats or new mechanics. We've also implemented a reworked altar. This new design uses a visual GUI to illustrate the different ambrosium costs for various functions like processing inert ores, enhancing plant-based foods, and repairing equipment. Enchanting takes a fixed duration of time, no matter the recipe, and also automatically processes if valid items are left in the input slots, allowing for bulk enchanting without user input. The new altar design also comes with vanilla-style input functionality for automation, so you can integrate enchanting into automated contraptions. That about wraps up all the things we're wanting to showcase at this stage of Aether II's development. These last few months have been super productive, and we're really excited to move on to the next steps of the project's production. The main things we'll be working on going forward are more mobs, survival mechanic refinements, and starting work on the first playable dungeon in the mod's progression, the Infected Guardian Tree. We've also recently released a pretty extensive update to the original Aether mod, including new mower skins for $1 patrons, restored functionality for multiple mobs, restored sound effects that were lost during porting, brand new sound effects for mobs like Valkyries, the Sun Spirit, Cockatrices, and Zephyrs, as well as implementing boss music tracks for all three dungeons. We're committed to continuing the support and porting of the original mod alongside its sequel, as well as releasing multiple additional mods that build on the original mod's content. So please stay tuned for more information about our work with the original mod as well. Lastly, please make sure to check out our Makeship campaign for the Aerbunny plush. If this does well, we're likely to produce more plushies of other mobs from the Aether's world, so please let us know what creatures you'd like to see. And pick up an Aerbunny for yourself if you'd like to support the mod and get a lovely piece of merchandise in return. The campaign is already fully funded, so every order is guaranteed to be fulfilled from now on. Thank you guys so much for watching and supporting our project. We hope to have more news about Aether II out very soon as we continue working on content production, so hopefully we'll see you very soon.